make sure that all the requirements have been elicited. That's the importance of this phase. Evaluation. If you have two requirements conflicting each other, right? One say A, the other one say B. This is the phase you need to, okay, what do you call that? Negotiate and settle it out. Okay. So all the, what do you call that? Like putting requirements in order, make sure no missing requirement. All kind of evaluations will be done here. Okay. So now we're going to go through the objectives. Okay.
No.
Software project management? 11. Is it a compulsory course for software engineering student?
No.
I got teach last time software engineering student. This course a few times. But I don't know whether it's compulsory course subject or elective. Have you taken the course before? No. So you're going to take? If you take the course right, you learn very clearly how to manage risk, how to identify the risk, how to control the risk, okay, how to prevent the risk. You will learn everything, okay. In this course, I will touch very little about risk. You know what? There are few calculations related to risk which you need to learn. They might come out in exam. Usually, right, in exam you can have drawing, modeling questions. You can have calculation questions. If calculation questions confirm from this chapter. If you want to know how the calculation questions look like, your tutorial got a complete set of questions in your tutorial form. Give a try. You make sure your tutor discuss. Okay? You will know how the calculation works. Okay? So I will go through one example. Don't worry. Okay? I will go through one example in my lecture. Then you need to differentiate the qualitative and quantitative risk assessment technique. How to, assess risk using qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative involve formulas, calculations. Quantitative, some techniques or approaches for you to apply. Okay, then evaluating alternative options. What is alternative options? This is one part of your assignment. You need to do in your assignment. For two things you need to learn from here for your assignment. One is the optional requirement. You know what is optional requirement? Okay, now for payment mode, let's say for payment mode, your company, your client company says, okay, they want some very important or like some very popular payment mode to be there for their project. So you identify, okay, for e-wallet nowadays, very good. Okay, e-wallet payment, very good. Okay, then you say usual credit card, debit card. Okay, another payment mode. And then online banking, third payment mode. So you identify three. Then you come up with the cost. And your client says, wow, so expensive. My project budget is very limited. I can't afford all the three payment mode. So can you try to choose one payment mode for me? Only one for my project. Just identify one. So now you have three options, right? Three options. Choose one. So that is optional requirement. Evaluating alternative options for decision making. So you need to choose only one option at the end. Understand? So that's a part of your assignment task. Okay, you need to come up with a few alternative requirements. Then choose only one requirement. So for example, like payment shall allow the system shall allow the customer to make payment using e-wallet. The system shall allow the customer to make payment using credit card or debit card. The system shall allow the customers to make payment using online banking. Now choose one. For three requirements, you only need one to be implemented because they are alternative. You understand what? So that is one of the important part of this lecture. Okay, so let's quickly start. So you know which two you need to know? You need to identify this one. This is the the inconsistency. Okay, identification and assessment of risk. Okay, system risk. Okay, if you are working on a project, right, who knows, anything might happen in the future while you are on the project. Like, suddenly government says, okay, what do you call that? MCO. Okay, no one is allowed to go to office. Okay, so no one can continue with the projects that they are working on. So what happened? All the projects are confirmed delay. All the projects confirmed overrun the budget. I'm very sure during that 2 years period. Correct or not? How company face this kind of situation? If any company they have identified the risk, like this kind of situation going to happen soon, okay, how to react, how to control the risk, then they will reduce their loss. Otherwise, they have to plan and execute. After this thing happen, they have to really what do you call that? They will be losing a lot. Not only not earning any profit, but they will be losing a lot of things. Okay, so that's why important when you start a project, you need to identify the risk and try to control, manage the risk as much as possible. Okay, for any project. So if let's say you are working with IoT projects, and you are working in a situation or in a location which is not strategic, always flooded. Okay, that area always flooded. Then you should also prepare. Let's say when I install my server here, if let's say this area is always flooded and I seriously need a server to be installed here, what kind of things or what kind of actions can be taken when flooded? Okay, so these are the risks. Okay, these are the things you need to identify when you are working on a project. Okay, so we look at risk very little. Okay, important for this course. Okay. Then comparison of alternative options and prioritization. Okay, so let's start now. So today I'm hoping to complete as much as possible on chapter 4. Okay, because they are very important for you to do your assignment. So remember your assignment you still have this week and next week. The following week, Tuesday is submission. Monday is a public holiday. So Tuesday is the submission. 26th of December, submission of assignment. Christmas. Next day, the next day of Christmas. Okay, submission of assignment. You need to complete all this. So I have to cover this topic as soon as possible, so you have enough time to do your work. Okay, so you still have 2 weeks pending. This week, next week, for you to complete your assignment. Okay, you have 2 more weeks. Assignment, okay, to be completed. Then your presentation also will start in week 6. Your submission also on Tuesday, week 6. Okay? Just to remind you. Okay. Okay, first topic, inconsistency. Okay, can anyone tell me what is interview point? What is intra-view point? Anyone? What is interview point? What is intra-view point? Interview point, intra-view point. Anyone? Intra means within the same category or inter means within the same category? What do you think? Which one within the same category? Inter or intra? Within the same category. Okay, you see here very obvious, right? Inter means two different group. Intra means within the same group. Okay? So inter viewpoint means each stakeholder has its own focus and concern. Intra means conflicting quality requirement. So the meaning is when this stakeholder gives me a requirement, then this stakeholder gives me another requirement, 2 different stakeholders, right? If these 2 requirements are clashing with each other, conflicting with each other, intra or inter? Intra or inter? 2 different stakeholders, intra or inter? Inter. The first one. The first one when 2 different stakeholders or 2 different departments clashing. Okay, requirements from 2 different sources clashing. Inter. Intra means this one stakeholder give me 2 requirements. Both also come from him. One requirement says improve the security. The other requirement says improve the performance. But when I try to implement both, I notice when I increase the security, performance drop. When I try to improve the performance, security drop. So I cannot fulfill both. Why? Both requirements come from him, intra. Understand? Two different parties, inter. Same party, same source, but they are clashing with each other, intra. Okay? Okay, continue. Okay, now got three types of clash. Three different types of clash. Terminology clash, this one can come out in exam. Okay? Might come out in exam. Okay? So usually you can see past year usually test all this. Okay? So you need to know terminology clash. Okay? Definition clash and also structure clash. Three different types of clash. When I say two requirements are clashing, what are the types of clash? Three types. Okay, when I say terminology, same concept but two different names. In your requirement, at one place, okay, you call, let's say, what do you call that? Participant. Another place, you use the term attendees. Participant, attendees. But when I find out more about the requirement, I came to know that both referring to the same concept. One concept, but you are using two different words. That is the clash. Attendees and participant. But when I try to find out what is attendees, what is participant, I got the same concept explanation. The same concept. So why are you using two different words for the same concept in one document? That is first clash. Okay, we call it as terminology clash. The terms are clashing. One concept, why using two terms? Okay? Understand? Okay? Another example I can give you like library system. Library system. So you are, let's say you call loan and borrow. Loan and borrow. So when I see the document somewhere you mention loan, the other few requirements you use the word borrow. Do they different from each other? Or are they the same? If they are the same, why are you using two different terms? Why not use one term so there is no confusion among the or within the document? Okay, so that's the meaning of terminology clash. Okay, what is destination clash? Opposite. Okay, so you have only one term but got two concepts. One term, two concepts. Let's say when you say participant, they are only participating. They are not the winners. But somewhere in the document, for the winners also you use the word participant. So participant, winners. Okay? Two different concepts. You mean participant means like actively participate in the tournament and gain something, like win something. Then when I check another definition, participant means as long as you participate. But both also you are using the same term, participant. Winning also participant, just participate and don't win anything also participant. So two different concepts, but you are using only one word, clash. So that is destination clash. Okay, what is structure clash? Okay, structure is quite easy. You see the example given here, same concept, okay? But you write it in different statement, differently. Okay, for example, the latest written date, one place you put Friday 5 p.m. This one always happens when come to assignment, especially my assignment. When you Google Classroom, assignment, when I create an assignment, I always put the date. For example, okay, your assignment, your assignment. Submission date is 26th of December. What do you understand? What is the latest time you can submit? 26th of December. When I just say assignment due date is 26th of December, what do you understand? Guys, what do you understand? When I say just 26th of December, when is the due date? 26th. What is the due time? 11:59. But actually, you know what? In PA, you can see any lecturers, most of the lecturers will say 5 p.m. because the class, by right, the class starts at 8, means finishes at 5. If a university starts class at 9, they should finish by 6, standard time. But sometimes due to resources, you have class until 6 or 8. It's another story. So now, by right, when I say I put a date, what student must be able to understand that all the assignment must be submitted by 5 p.m. on 26th of December. You understand or not? But don't worry, mine you just follow the time I said in the whiteboard. Does it mean 26 December 11:59 p.m. or any time? So you see two different structure. At one point, okay, you are saying Friday 5 p.m. Another day you just mentioned, at another place you just mentioned Friday. Two different structure. So can clash. If you just put Friday, it means the whole Friday until 11:59. So another clash. In your requirement, you should avoid all the three types of clash. Okay? Clear? Okay, proceed. Okay, we have two types of conflict. Okay. Two types of conflict. One is, okay, strong conflict. The other one is weak conflict. Can anyone define what is strong conflict? Strong conflict. Cannot get along, get divorced. Weak conflict still can try to negotiate. Okay? So, no here different. What is strong conflict? When you have strong conflict, right, there is no way for you to solve the conflict. You know, both are totally opposite. One say yes, the other one say no. One requirement clashes with the other requirement maximum. So, no way for you to solve both. You cannot satisfy both. If with conflict, when you come up with a solution, your solution can satisfy both. Okay? With conflict, you can come up with a solution to satisfy both. Strong conflict, okay, when it is a very strong conflict, your solution no way to satisfy both. Either one only. You can only satisfy either one. You cannot satisfy both. Can you understand? Strong conflict, no way to satisfy both. Can only satisfy one of the requirement, the other one need to ignore. You have to say, no way, I cannot satisfy. Okay, but weak conflict means you can find a solution where you can satisfy both stakeholders. You can satisfy both requirements. Okay? Because conflict always when there are two requirements conflicting each other, right? That's the solution. Okay? You have to come up with a solution for satisfying both. Okay? Okay, now I give you an example. You tell me. Okay? You see here, first one. Participant constraint may not be disclosed to anyone. This guy says, this stakeholder says, participants constraint. You know, I say I'm not available on Sunday. I'm not available on Monday. My free time is only 3 to 5 p.m. on Tuesday. All my people are constrained. Cannot disclose to anyone. One stakeholder says. The other one say the meeting initiator should know the participant constraint. One say can, one say cannot. Can you come up with a solution where both can be satisfied? Anyone? Anyone here can come up with one requirement to satisfy both. Initiator should know, and the other one say no one can know. Can you come up with a solution to satisfy both? Can or not? Possible or not, class? One already said no one can know. You want to satisfy that, then you cannot satisfy the other one. Agree with me? Agree with me? If no one can know, then how initiator can know? The meeting initiator. So no way for meeting initiator to know also. Right? So there is no way for you to satisfy both. You can only satisfy one, the other one ignore. You need to avoid. So that's the meaning of strong conflict. Okay, look at the weak conflict. Okay, look at the weak conflict. Patron means borrower. Okay, shall return the borrowed copies within X weeks. For some duration here, within X weeks. Then the other guy, the other stakeholder say, a patron needing a book, a borrowed copy, can keep more than X week. A patron shall keep the borrowed copy as long as needed. One say, when you borrow a book, you can only keep for, let's say, 3 weeks. Let's say 3 weeks. The other one say, when a borrower borrow a book, can keep as long as you want. Can anyone give me one requirement can satisfy both? Anyone? You all use library, right? Never been to library before. At least school library. One stakeholder say you can keep the book, you can borrow the book and keep for 3 weeks, for example. The other stakeholder say you can keep as long as you want. Like you want to extend also can. So now tell me, how can I come up with a requirement to satisfy both? Anyone? I ask, I answer. they can extend or renew their loan. So you are satisfying both or not? Yes. So weak requirement, conflict. Weak means can satisfy. Strong means cannot satisfy. You got the idea or not? Why am I repeating so many times like this? It is a task given in your assignment. I want you to understand so that you can do it for your project, your assignment title. You understand or not? Can you understand? Strong versus weak. Okay, what you have to do for your assignment is the next one. Okay? Okay. Yeah. When you have a conflict in your requirement document, there are 4 steps. 4 steps to solve. What are the 4 steps? First, you identify the overlapping statement. How to identify the overlapping statement? Let me show you. Thank God, not stuck. Okay, so new slide. Okay, let's take this one. I give you example. Where just now? This one. So let's take this one. This is staff viewpoint. The stakeholder is staff. Staff says so. Okay. So this is one requirement. Paste. Okay. Then the other stakeholder says. That who is the other stakeholder? Patron, the borrower. Okay. Borrower says this is the requirement. Okay. Copy and then put it here. Okay. So I didn't copy properly. Okay. The patron says so. Okay, copy. Come back here. Put it here. Yeah. Okay. Can you see 2 requirements clashing? Correct or not? Clash? Yes. Conflicting? Yes. Okay. Now we have to come up with the solution. Before we come up with the solution, class, can you tell me which part are overlapping? Which part are overlapping? First step, identify the overlapping. Can anyone tell me which part is overlapping? Patron shall. Return, keep. Borrow, explicit. This one borrow, copy as long. So I guess this part. Clash. Agree with me? This part is actually overlapping. This part is overlapping. Borrow for how long? Borrow for how long? Agree with me? Yes. This is the first step. Identify the overlapping part. After identifying the overlapping part, you need to detect the conflict. Where is the conflict now? Exactly where is the conflict? Who can tell me? Exactly where is the conflict, class? You don't feel boring just listening to me. You need to participate. So now tell me, which part is conflicting? Overlap? Yes. Borrow book, borrow book. Borrow copies for how long? Borrow copies for how long? Which one is now exactly the conflicting clash? Yeah, within next week, and then this one say as long as you want. Okay. So what I should do here is I change to red and make it bold for you to see. As long as you need. So that's the clash now. Exactly, that's the clash. That's the conflict. And second step. Okay, now go back to third step. Generate conflict resolution. This is what you need to do for assignment. In your assignment, you need to find, okay, in your module, every student needs to do. In your module, you need to find 2 or more requirements that conflicting with each other. Of course, you need to pay yourself. Try to find 2 requirements which conflict with each other. After identifying the 2 conflicting requirements, you need to detect the conflict and you have to come up with a resolution. Okay, so the resolution, right, got 5 ways, got 5 procedures or 5 tactics. I'm going to teach you the 5 tactics. Every student need to come up with all the 5 solutions. After come up with the 5 resolution, you need to choose the best resolution. That's your assignment task. Every module, I repeat, don't know whether you are paying attention or not. Every student has your own module for assignment. Every student, you need to find 2 requirements at least conflicting with each other for your own module. After identifying the conflicting requirement for your module, you need to detect the conflict. After detecting the conflict, you need to propose 5 resolution. 5 resolution because 5 tactics. I have 5 tactics. I want you to try and come out with a resolution for each tactic. Then identify identify the best resolution. Understand? Okay, now what are the 5 tactics? Okay, what are the 5 tactics? Okay, these are the 5 tactics, class. Okay, these are the 5 tactics. Can you see the 5 tactics? Okay, maybe I go through the tactics first. Okay. Now, just now, the librarian said, class, the librarian, we use the same example to understand. We use the same example to understand. Just now, the librarian said, the book can be only borrowed for 3 weeks. Assume 3 weeks. The books can be X weeks, right? X I changed to 3. So the books can be only borrowed for 3 weeks. But the student said what? The patron, borrower said what? The borrower said they can keep as long as they want. So clashing, correct or not? So now, the first resolution say avoid the boundary. You know what is avoid the boundary? The conflicting part, avoid. See? Okay. Try to avoid the conflicting part. Which part is conflicting, class? Which part is conflicting? How long you keep the book, correct or not? So avoid that part. How to avoid that part? So I come up with one example of resolution. I give you example to make you understand. Okay? How to avoid the 2 conflicting requirements. Okay? Try to keep the copies of highly needed books unborrowable. Just now, both are fighting. Both stakeholders say, I can keep as long as you want. The other one say, I can only allow you to keep for 3 weeks. Right? Now, you say that some of the books, no one can borrow. You are avoiding the boundary totally. You understand or not? That is the first tactic. Second tactic. Restore conflicting statement. You know what is restore the statement? Rewrite the statement. Come up with a new statement to make it satisfy the other statement. For example, okay, copy written within next week can be borrowed again. Now, books can be borrowed for 3 weeks. So he also tried to follow the other stakeholder. Restore, rewrite the statement to satisfy the other stakeholder. So he says restore, rewrite. So he says, okay, borrow the book for 3 weeks, but then you can extend. So you are making both parties happy, satisfy both. You understand or not? That is restore, weak conflict. First one is strong conflict, second one is weak. Usually first one we use for strong. The avoid boundary usually used for strong. The second one can be used for weak and strong. Okay? So no. The second one only for the weak. Okay? The first one can be used for weak and strong. Okay? Weaken conflicting statement. You make the conflict weak. Reduce the conflict gap. How to reduce? Copy written within X weeks unless explicit permission. So if you want to keep 10, but you must have a permission from the librarian or library teacher. Okay? So that's the meaning. So now you still, okay, satisfied both statements. Agree with me? You have to return the book within next week. But if you want to keep also can. You want to keep 10, but you must have permission. So meaning you are making both parties happy. You have to return the book within next week. But if you have permission from the authority, you can keep the book. You understand or not? So that's another way to try to reduce the conflict gap between the conflicting statements. Understand? Okay, the fourth one, drop. I know everyone will go for this because the easiest way. You see which one is lower priority. Now tell me. I have two right. Which one you will consider as lower priority? Tell me, for library system, which one is considered as low priority or lower priority? Anyone? You cannot simply say lower priority. You must have the justification to say so. So which one is lower priority? Which one? The as long as. Okay, why that is lower priority? You must have a reason to say lower priority. Library system, who knows better? Patron or librarian? Staff or student? Staff. So obviously for this, higher priority is requirement from the staff. Student always they wish, they always give a requirement in the way they wish, right? But they do not know everything about library, the management part especially. So higher priority always staff. Okay, so you can say the second requirement will be dropped. Only the first requirement will be remain. Why? Because higher priority, lower priority. So lower priority, drop. Another solution tactic. 4 tactics. You can understand the difference or not? First, avoid boundary. Second, restore, weaken, and fourth one, drop. Clear? Okay, last one. What's the last? Last one, specialize. Okay, what is specialize? Conflict source or target. Okay, can anyone tell me which one is source, which one is target? Take one requirement, tell me which one is the source, which one is the target. Which one is source? Source is where the requirement come from, source. Okay, so this is source. Right, this is source. Okay, this is source. Same. Which one is source? This one is the source. What is target? What is target? What's the target? Who is the target here? Class, who is the target? Okay? Patron is the target. Okay? So your requirement is all about patron, right? Your requirement is all about patron. So that's the target. So this is the target. This is the target. So you need to specify or specialize either one. What is specialize either one? You can say that this requirement we don't take from students. We only capture this requirement from the source librarian. So automatically the other requirement become disqualified. Okay? Again, you specialize the source. You say this requirement only take from librarian, not from the patron. So you specialize the source. How to specialize the target? Who can tell me? How to specialize the target? The blue color. How to specialize the target, class? Hello. How to specialize the target? Anyone? Target is patron, right? So both requirement, you can make it specialized. You can say if a student borrow the book, can only keep for X week. If a lecturer borrow the book, they can keep as long as they need, they want. One of the university I work, follow this. Our lecturer can keep as long as we want. Student return in 3 or 5 weeks. Okay? So I make the target or the source specialized. So I can solve the problem. Understand or not? Can you understand? So the two requirement conflicting, right? You try to find the target or the source, make it more specialized. When you make more specialized, the clash or conflict can be overcome. Clear? Can understand or not? Can follow? Hopefully. You need to do this for your assignment. Okay? Okay, now you already got 5 resolutions. Assume that you have come up with 5 resolutions. Okay, here. You have come up with 5 resolutions, right? Choose one. How to choose? That's the last step. Okay, that's the last step. Here. You need to evaluate each of the resolution. What evaluation? Try to discuss the pros and cons of each resolution. Then see which one you want to choose. One conflict, only one solution needed. So you just choose one. Okay? The other 4 you can just ignore. Choose one. So assignment. Every module identify 2 requirements that conflicting with each other. Come up with 5 resolution. Choose one. Choose one resolution to be the solution. You need to discuss the pros and cons of each resolution. Then finally choose one the best resolution for your conflict. Every student need to do for assignment. For your own module. Okay? Clear? Okay, proceed. I don't want to. This one can come out in exam. Okay? You need to know all the 5 techniques. Okay, now move on with the next topic, the biggest topic. Okay? So this is actually evaluating the risk. Okay? I might go quite fast. I will focus on on certain topic which are important. Okay, so look at this. Okay, let's look at the type. Okay, every risk, you know what is risk? Who can describe risk in a very simple way? What is risk? Sorry? Yeah, right? Something that really going to happen? Expected to happen. Okay, expected to happen, which can bring some consequences which are not good. So, it is considered as a risk. Okay, so you are predicting, you are expecting this thing can happen. If happen, how do you react? That's the risk. Every risk will have two things you need to know. What are they? You need to know the likelihood. How is the likelihood? Okay, how confirm the risk can happen. Okay, then the second one, consequences. If the risk happen, what will be the consequences? Very high, very low? You need to identify the consequences. Okay, now you see, if the likelihood very high, also not good. You know why? Okay, tell me now, MCO. Again, what is the likelihood? Again, MCO is another risk for all the upcoming projects. Any project, construction or software project or whatever project going on now, they can identify MCO as another risk, okay, for their project. Okay, now tell me, what is the likelihood for the MCO? I heard now the COVID cases are going up terribly. So now tell me, what is the likelihood for another MCO? High? Low? Low. Yeah. Because it's affecting a lot of parties. So they will try to go for MCO, they will find some other solution. So MCO likelihood is low. Okay, fine. What about the consequences? If MCO happen, what is the consequences? If again you have to go for MCO, what is the consequences? Or what are the consequences? Very bad, very low, very high, very low. High. Consequences are very high. Many parties will be affected, especially you guys. How are you going to do your ITP? How are you going to do your final year project? Then how can you graduate on time? All this will be affected. Correct, man? So any project, okay? So MCO for our government likelihood is very low, but the consequences are very high. So every risk, right? You need to identify this two to calculate the risk exposure. Okay, let me show you. Okay, the risk consequences are likelihood and severity. Okay, let's look at the where's the formula. Okay, later it will be there. I will show you. Okay, now for risk management, got 3 steps. Risk management got 3 steps: risk identification, risk assessment, risk control. Okay, risk identification, first identify the risk, then you find all the possible impact, the severity, the consequences, that is assessment. Come up with all the possible what impacts and consequences. So that is assessment. If you notice that quite serious, then you need to take action to control. You need to come up with the plan to control the risk. So the third one is control. So the risk control is based on how serious is your risk in the assessment. If when you assess the risk, it's not very serious, then your control won't be there. Okay? What do you call that? You don't have to spend so much in planning to control the risk. Okay? So that's the thing. Okay, what is countermeasure? What is countermeasure? What is the meaning of countermeasure? When you take an action to control a risk. Okay? What do you mean by countermeasure now? Hello? When you take an action, a step to control the risk, what's the meaning of countermeasure? Anyone? No one knows. What is countermeasure? How effective is the step? Is it really effective? You manage to control the risk when happen, then the countermeasure will show you whether it is the risk is manageable, the risk is controllable or not. So the countermeasure is showing effectiveness of your action. Okay? So your countermeasure is the steps that you are taking, the steps that you are taking to control the risk. Okay? So later we will come up with some calculation we will try to come up with some formulas to see how effective is the countermeasure. When you try to control a risk, you will take a step, you will take an action. So that action is really effective or not. We will calculate and see whether this countermeasure is effective or not. If it's not effective, no point you perform the same countermeasure for the risk again. You understand or not? So all that will be a part of this topic. Okay? Okay, now product related risk and process related risk. Okay, what is product related risk? Can anyone give me an example? What is product related risk? Hello. Product related risk? I'm going to call someone now. Product related risk, just give me an example enough. Any risk related to the product. So very obviously a product, okay, you know functional requirement, non-functional requirement. So a product functions if not as expected. Let's say a product function failed to work. Then product risk. A function failed to, okay, or let's say your product failed to operate as you expect. So a risk. Another example is the quality. The quality of your product not as expected. Okay, let's say you say the performance must be 2000 transactions in 1 second, but you cannot achieve 2000 transactions in 1 second. Risk. Okay, so quality risk or function. Okay, fail, error also can be one of the risks. The product is not performing as expected. Okay. Okay, what about process related risk? Anyone? Process related risk. Come tell me, process related risk. Anyone? Let's say your team, you have the main senior programmer, very main senior programmer. Okay, everyone is depending on him, very knowledgeable. So the whole project can't move without him. Let's say, and this guy suddenly meet an accident, serious accident, admitted for 6 months. What happened to your project? Medical leave, 6 months, the backbone of your project. So what happened to your project? Sure going to be delayed. Sure going to increase the cost because of the delay. Sure going to be a lot of problem in the features, right? Errors and so on. Because the senior programmer where your project totally depending on, it's not available now. Understand or not? So that's the meaning of process. The schedule, something wrong with the schedule, something wrong with the what budget, something wrong with the manpower. All these are a part of process. Okay? Product means the product quality, the product features. Process means the development process. Okay, let's say one of the hardware that you are using, okay, not working, out of service. What happened to your project? You are using few hardware to work on your project. Suddenly one of the hardware is not working. Risk, right? Let's say one of your software that you are using to develop the product, license expired and you didn't notice. What happened? License expired, of course you can subscribe a new one, but don't you think it will be time consuming? So don't you think that will affect your project now? That is a risk as well. Understand or not? All this can be a part of the process risk. Process, okay, development process. Okay, now proceed. Okay, review each component of the system to be human hardware device to identify the risk, right? To identify the risk, you need to review each and everything, whether the hardwares are good condition or not. How long you have been using the hardware. If your hardware is newly bought, you can promise that no risk going to be caused by the hardware. If let's say you are using the hardware for 10 years and it's working very fine, but can you identify your hardware as one of the risks? Yes, 10 years. Who knows, the next second can stop working, right? So that's how you identify the risk, okay? Okay, now, when you are identifying the risk, right? Okay, you need to come up with linking of the failures or causes and consequences. So usually we can use tree organization to do the linking. Okay, so you can also use relational, logical operators such as and or to link what happened, what relationship between the failure, causes and consequences. consequences. Okay, I'll show you an example, something like this. Okay, this is known as tree, risk tree. Okay, but of course, I don't ask you to draw an exam, don't worry. This is just for your knowledge purpose. Okay, I want you to understand how it works. Okay, for example, door opens while train is moving. So, and train is moving. Train is moving. Door opened while train is moving. So, what happened? So, what is the consequences? So, you can consider all the possible combinations. What happened? So, you come up with a diagram, you predict your risk. You come up with, you identify all the possible risks thoroughly. Okay? Okay. You can also use heuristic identification. You have done this right. This keyword is quite popular in UI. Heuristic. Have you heard about this? Heuristic? Yes, right. I'm very sure you have learned this in some other HTI courses. Okay, that heuristic identification using the guide word. No, something is missing. More. There are more things than expected. What happened? Less. If there are not enough things than expected. Before, after. So, can use this kind of keywords to come out to identify the risk. Okay, there are few ways you can identify all the risk for your projects. So, this is another. These are the techniques. Okay. Okay, I guess this cut set. Okay, cut set of risk. Okay, set of minimal and combination of RT leaf not sufficient for causing the risk. Okay, so minimum combination that can cause the risk already. So what is the minimum? Cut set is the minimum causes of the risk. So you have this two already can cause the risk, and then that is the cut set. No. You need 5 things to happen to cause the risk, and then the minimum cut set is 5. 5 possible things. So cut set means what is the minimum? Okay, occurrence for risk to occur. Okay, or minimum. What you can use? What word? Minimum combinations of restraint to cause the consequences. Okay. Okay, so this is a combination. Can you see the cut set? This two combination can cause the risk. This two also can cause the risk. This two can. So all the possible combination that can cause the risk. Okay, from this diagram. When you have time, you can just go through this diagram. Okay, so now let's look at the risk identification now using another technique. Another technique, just now we already looked at 2 techniques, now the third technique, using elicitation technique. What is elicitation? Same like you are collecting requirement. Now, to identify the risk also you can use elicitation technique. So you can use scenario, trying to come up with different scenario that describe the risk. Okay, for example, let's say you are making a coffee. What happens if water spill? So you see, you can identify the risk by creating different scenario. So another way is using elicitation technique. You can also identify risk based on knowledge reuse. What is knowledge reuse? In the past, have you done any project like this? In the past, have you come across any risk? Use the knowledge back. So you already identified the risk in the previous project, right? You can use back the knowledge, the risk that you have identified in the previous project. Then the third one, group session. You can invite different parties, different stakeholders, sit together and try to discuss all the possible risks that might happen for this project. These are the ways you can come up with the risk. Okay? Okay. Without wasting. Next, risk assessment. What's the time? Okay, still a few more minutes, okay? Yeah, seriously, I will let you go by 5:45. Okay, don't worry. I want to cover all the important topics. Okay, so now risk assessment. I told you, right? First you identify all the possible risks for your project. You have so many techniques you can use to identify the risk. Now you need to assess. What is assess? Who can tell me? What is assessment? Why you need to assess the risk? Anyone? See? No one answering. So I need to explain more. Then it will be time consuming. Why you need to assess the risk? Sorry? Yeah, to see how serious is the risk, the severity, to know how serious is the risk, to know what are the consequences. Are they very serious? If not, one of the risks, let's say, if you don't overcome the risk, it can kill a lot of people. from now onwards. So that's the reason we always assess the risk. How serious? Okay. So now let's see the likelihood and severity. How serious? How confirm the risk can happen. Okay. Okay. So these are the two things you want to assess because you want to find out very likely to happen, very unlikely to happen. Then you want to find how serious is the risk. If very serious means can affect life. Okay. So you want to know how serious is the risk. Okay. Okay. So what is catastrophic? What is catastrophic, class? Catastrophic means very, very serious. Okay. So you have the measurement over here. I gave you an example. Catastrophic means very serious. Okay. From there, slowly go down. Severe. Then you have high, moderate, and then of course low. You have low. Then likely also very likely, likely, possible, unlikely, and never happen. Never happen. So you have go down. Okay. Understand? Okay. Continue. Okay, the first formula that you need to understand, calculate the exposure, okay, risk exposure. Likelihood multiply with the severity. Likelihood multiply with the severity. Then you need to sum all the product. Find the summation of all the product. Okay? Wait, I'll show you whether I have an example here. Okay, I have an example in tutorial. You want to try? Or I show you in the next class. Okay, I will discuss the calculation in the next class. Okay, so you have to find, okay, for each risk, what is the severity multiply with the likelihood. Then you total up the value. Then you get the exposure right. Okay, now tell me, higher the exposure, what's the meaning? Higher the exposure better or lower the exposure better? Higher the exposure, risk exposure, higher the risk exposure better or lower the risk exposure better? Very good. Low is better, meaning no very serious consequences, or maybe the likelihood is very, very low. Will never happen or rarely happen. Understand? Okay, continue. Now we're going to look at the control, risk control. Plus, this one got a lot of formula. Okay, risk control, but explore the countermeasure. What is control? When the risk happen, plus when the risk happen, how can I control the risk? How can I cannot, sometimes you can prevent. You can prevent totally without, prevent from happening. Or you can still let it to happen, but try to reduce the effect. So when you try to reduce the effects, right? What do you call that? When you try to reduce the effect, that is called countermeasure. That is called countermeasure. Okay? So evaluate the countermeasure. You first find all the countermeasure, then you evaluate. Okay? Let's look at the what do you call that? This is the one. Risk reduction. Risk reduction. Later I'll come up with a formula to show you how to reduce the risk. So if the value is high, means very good. Your countermeasure is effective because you manage to reduce the risk as much as possible. When the countermeasure, okay, when the countermeasure is not really effective, your risk reduction will be very, very low. Okay? Risk reduction low means your countermeasure is not effective. The risk reduction high means you manage to reduce the risk so much. So the countermeasure is good. Understand? So later, after done the calculation, you need to understand what the value explains. You understand or not? Okay? There are a lot of formulas. Who knows? This year got calculation from this part. Okay? Okay, let's look at the possible risk reduction tactics. Reduce the risk likelihood. So one way is you can reduce the likelihood. Okay, you can avoid the risk totally. You can avoid. You know what's the meaning of avoid? Avoid from happening. Okay. Then reduce the consequences likelihood. Risk still happen. You know, risk still happen. But when the risk happen, it will give you some effect, right? Try to reduce the effect. This is reduce the effect, not reduce the risk. This one reduce the happening of the risk. This one reduce the consequences of the risk. See, all different tactics. Okay? Okay, now look at the next one. Wait, I come up with all first. Okay, avoid the risk consequences. You know what is avoid the consequences? The risk already happened. The risk, okay, for example, how to explain? COVID already happened. Can we avoid the COVID? COVID is the risk. So COVID already happened. But what is the consequence? Who can tell me what is the consequence of COVID? What is consequence of COVID? Or consequences, plural, of COVID? Anyone? MCO? Consequences, right? Death? People die? Consequences, right? Loss of job? Consequences, right? Now, let's say COVID still happened. Now COVID still happened, right? But we try to reduce the consequences. We try to reduce MCO chances. We try to reduce the number of people who are dying. You understand or not? That's the meaning of reduce consequences. But now, avoid the risk consequences. What is avoid? Totally avoid from happening. Try to make sure no one die caused by COVID. Due to COVID. Okay, we try to avoid MCO totally. Never let the MCO to happen again. Reduce is different. Now avoid. Try to avoid totally. Understand? Okay, then mitigate risk consequences. Okay, so you have to find risk consequences. New requirement to reduce the severity. Try to reduce the severity of the consequences. Okay, the serious effect of the consequences. Try to reduce the severity. Now what is severity? Seriousness. Okay, so these are the different tactics. You can actually adopt any one of the tactics. Of course, we don't go for all. We just choose one best tactic for our risk. Okay, so now let's go through the formula quickly. Then next class, no, not next class. Even now, I can show you the example. Okay. First, cost effectiveness is measured by risk reduction leverage. Okay. So what is risk reduction? I just explained, right? How much of risk can be reduced? Correct, Ahmad? So if your cost effectiveness means if your money, right, you spend 100,000 to reduce the risk, and you notice that you manage to reduce the risk to 0, then the effectiveness is very good. The risk reduction is good. You understand or not? Working. Because you managed to reduce the risk for 100,000. So cost effectiveness is high. Okay. So how to calculate that? Okay. Exposure minus exposure of, okay, you can see this exposure of the risk. Okay. Exposure of the risk minus exposure of the risk countermeasure over the countermeasure divided by cost of the countermeasure. Okay, exposure of the risk over countermeasure divided by cost of the countermeasure. So calculate this first and then minus from the exposure. Then you will see the RRL. Okay, so next formula. Okay. Okay, class. What is impact? Class, what is impact? Estimated loss of satisfaction. Okay? You know what is estimated loss of satisfaction of objective? This is objective. Estimated loss of satisfaction. Loss of satisfaction means not satisfied. Okay, not satisfied. Okay, criticality. What is criticality? Likelihood. Okay, so I explained the formula, then you can go through the example. You have one question in tutorial to complete the whole set. Okay, so likelihood multiply with the impact of every objective. The impact of every objective multiply with the weight of every objective. So usually, right, class, you will have so many objectives. So you need to multiply. You have to find the product of impact and weight, multiply both, and then calculate for all the objectives. Then total up, find the summation. Then finally multiply with the likelihood. So find the summation of all the objectives, product of impact and weight, and then multiply with the likelihood. Okay? Loss of objective also same, but now change place ready. Now likelihood, okay, change place with the weight. You see, weight and likelihood change place. So for the loss of objective, every impact of the objective multiply with the respective likelihood, find all the summation, and the summation multiply with weight. You don't see now, obviously, no one can understand because you are just looking at the formula. When you really try out the example, you can see the, okay, how it works. You can see how it works. Okay, now, Okay, how to do this? Okay, sure. How to do? How to calculate? How to get the 0.22? Who can tell me? Loss of objective. What's the formula for loss of objective class? Or we do the criticality first, huh? Okay, for the criticality, impact multiply with weight. Can anyone tell me how to calculate the impact with the weight? These are the impact, class. These values are impact. Class, listen, please how to do. These are the values of impact. Okay, where's the weight? Weight is given here. So, okay, I show you one example, class, listen. 0.4, the weight. I'm doing criticality for the first one. I'm doing the criticality for the first one, this one. So what I do, okay, how I do this, okay, weight 0.4, you see the weight 0.4, multiply with the impact. This is the impact, this is the impact. The value in the middle is impact. So the weight multiply impact, 0.4 times 0.3, 0.12. 0.4 multiply with 0.6, every single what risk must multiply with the weight. Every single risk must multiply with the weight. 0.4 multiply 0.3, 0.12. 0.6 multiply 0.4, 0.24. Don't worry, next class I show on the board. Okay? 0.6 multiply with 0.4, again 0.24. Okay? Then 0.12 plus 0.24 plus 0.24 plus 0.08. Can anyone tell me the value? For calculator, anyone? What's the value? This multiply the respective weight. Every impact multiply with the respective weight. 0.3 multiply 0.4, 0.6 multiply 0.4, 0.6 multiply 0.4, and 0.2 multiply 0.4. Sum up everything. Anyone managed to do? What's the value? Then finally, what do you do? Hey, sorry, I made a mistake. This is impact multiply with the weight, right? Yeah, impact multiply with the weight. So this is the impact and this is the weight. So multiply with the weight. Impact multiply with the weight. So 0.4 multiply, wait, I show you on the one. Otherwise confusing, What's the time? 10 class, 5 minutes, I show you one example. Okay? Okay, class, listen, 0.4 impact multiply with the respective weight. So impact is the value in the middle. So for one example, what I take, date written. Class, I take the date written, date written. I have the impact, the impact. Can you tell me the impact? 0.3, 0.1. And what is the respective weight? What is the respective weight? 0. Here for objective, right? You have the respective weight 0.4. Then for the 0, yeah, 0.1 and 0.3. So respective weight is 0.3, 0.1, 0.3, 0.1, 0.3. Agree? Can you see this two column? I'm talking about this is impact. This is impact, and these are the weight of the objective. Okay? So impact multiply with the weight. So multiply this two. Multiply, multiply. 0.02, 0.03, 0.12. So total up. 12, 15, 17. 0.17. So this is the value for summation of. This is the value for summation of this product. Okay? And multiply with the likelihood. What is the likelihood? What is the likelihood for rate return? Likelihood for rate return is 0.7. So last week this one multiply with 0.7. What do you think? What do you get? Hello, what do you get? 4.4, 119. Correct. 0.119. Okay? Equivalent or almost 0.12. That's how you get the 0.12. This one. Understand? Same thing goes to. Okay, laser, pen, okay? So, class, now the second formula. Impact multiply with likelihood. Listen, impact. This one multiply with this one. This one multiply with this one. This one multiply with this one. This one multiply with the respective You know what? I don't like to teach this in exam because very complicated.
这哪一个？
One year what happened? My voice breaking. What happened? We didn't crunch set the paper.
这是哪一个？
I think 2 minutes. Because I was setting some other paper. I think it's 11 or something.
哦，这个是
So what happened?
未成，这
We
个
didn't
就是
crunch again one whole set. Wow, then here, not even one student managed
哦
to
哦
finish.
是 roof。哦哦可以可以可以
So,
懂。
who knows
这
how
这
to set
成
the
日
paper? So you better pay attention. I'm just telling you that it might come out. Okay,
Oh,
they
shit.
give you the table with the share. Okay, they give you the table with the what do you call that? Age.
连亏了就是。
And they don't give you the formula for criticality and loss of objective. You need to calculate. You need to remember the formula. Okay? Calculation always comes with one question. This is point one. There are some other calculation questions. You know what will come out. Okay? Clear?
哦对了对，
That's all.
这个就是。
Now, listen. One more thing. This one even worse. This one even worse. You know what? What's the time? Give me 1 minute. Yeah, I think I better complete the last one. Okay, plus, give me 1 minute. Sorry. I cannot leave you halfway because you will forget this next week. So this is continuity. So let me cover it. Okay? Okay, how to do combined reduction. Okay, now class. Class, you have a risk. You want to find out the risk got reduced or not. After you take the countermeasure, your risk got reduced or not. Who can give me the meaning of this symbol? What's the meaning of this symbol? You got take advanced database already? I mean taken before? No. Then maybe maths. Have you done this in maths? What's the meaning? If you see this, it's longer explanation. Okay?
我们没有那了，他就照相机的那个在喜欢，我们就没试过。
What?
哎呀，
我怎么拍呢？
Cannot go back if I don't take the answer.
这是罗马师傅。
Yes, projection. The right one is solution. Plus, your friend giving the solution. Multiply. Summation means plus. The down one is multiply. The name is projection. The up one is summation. Okay? Now how to do? One example. How to do? Listen, listen. 1 minus reduction. Class, listen. This is reduction. Class, this one is reduction value. So 1 minus reduction, 1 minus reduction, okay? Then, okay, projection of the value, projection of the value minus from 1. So 1 minus this, 1 minus this, sorry, 1 minus this, 1 minus this. Multiply all the answer. Can you tell me the answer? 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, multiply all. And multiply with 0. 0. Okay? Then projection of that value minus from 1. Okay? Same thing goes to every single. Okay, every single. This is what combined reduction. Combined reduction is here, correct. So 1 minus again, 1 minus 0, 1 minus 0, 1 minus, minus, this one multiply with 1 just now, not 0, sorry. Multiply with 1 because 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 multiply with 0.1, multiply with 0.2, multiply with 0.3. Then you get 0.01. So 0.99 is the answer. 1 minus. Okay? You understand or not?
No.
You can see or not? Okay, quickly I show you please. Listen. Okay, class. Class. Last one. 1 minus 0.7. 1 minus 0.8, 0.9. Okay, 1 minus 0.9. 1 minus 0. So 1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Projection, multiply. So multiply. What's the answer? Who can tell me what's the answer? 3 decimal, 0.06. Correct or not? 0.006. Agree? So now, that's the value for this. That's the value for the projection. That's fine. That's the value for this. Now 1 minus this. So 1 minus 0.06. So 0.994. Agree with me? So equivalent to 0.99. Clear? How to do? Later don't tell tutor immediately.
线
Okay. Then one more last example. One more last. Okay. Wait. Reduction.
不好了
Multiply with criticality. Listen. Reduction multiply with criticality. Where do I get the criticality from? Go back. Plus. Criticality plus. Criticality 0.12. 0.12. Okay? 0.12. Okay, now class listen. Please. See, when you don't listen, I keep repeating. So 0.12. Okay? So how to do that? How to get this 0.12? Okay, overall effect. Okay, reduction multiply with criticality. So for this late return, you already calculate the reduction is 0.99, right? Go back to the late return. What was the criticality over there? 0.12, right? Multiply. Okay, and you get this answer. You will get some decimal places at the back. Value, you round off, you get 0.12. Because 99 are almost same as 1. So 1 multiply with, 1 multiply with, where's the value? 1 multiply with, where's the criticality just now? Multiply with 0.12. So that's why you are getting 0.12. So you see, plus. What is the conclusion? Plus. If your criticality from the previous calculation goes wrong, all this calculation is also will go wrong. Understand or not? Okay? Okay. Now, see, I want to let you go. Okay, start.